Detroit Pistons basketball can really be broken down into 5 different eras over the last 35 plus years. The first era we'll cover is the era most well known amongst NBA fans, the era of the Detroit Bad Boys. The Bad Boy era began to take shape in 1981 when the Pistons drafted Isaiah Thomas out of Indiana University. They would go on to add center Bill Laimbeer, forward Joe Dumars, and coach Chuck Daly in the coming seasons and slowly begin ascending the NBA ladder. While struggling to make it out of the playoffs during much of the mid-80s, the team really took off after they picked up center John Salley and forwards Dennis Rodman and Adrian Dantley during the 1986 offseason. The Pistons would go on to make 5 consecutive Eastern Conference Finals, beginning with the 1987 postseason. The Pistons would make their first NBA Finals appearance in the 1988 Finals, where they were defeated by the LA Lakers in 7 games. They would fight back to the finals the following season and sweep the Lakers in the 89 Finals to win the franchise's first NBA title. They would then go on to defend their title in 1990, defeating the Portland Trail Blazers in 5 games.
7/10 of a second. There's the shot, and the game's over, and the Pistons have won the World Championship.
The Bad Boys era started to come to a close during the 1991 Eastern Conference Finals when the Pistons were swept by Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls. The series is best known for the Pistons' decision to walk off the court prior to the final buzzer of the Game 4 sweep, unwilling to shake hands with the Bulls. The following 3 seasons in Detroit saw the team lose their spot at the top of the league. Coach Chuck Daly left during the 1992 offseason. The team traded away defensive star Dennis Rodman during the 93 offseason.
You're late. Any reason?
Oh, reason? I got stuck in traffic.
Will you be fine?
And the 1993-1994 season would see both Bill Laimbeer and Isaiah Thomas retire. This would all lead us to the next era in Pistons basketball, the Grant Hill era. Grant Hill was selected with the 3rd overall pick in the 1994 NBA draft and immediately stood out as an all-star caliber player. While the Pistons as a team would struggle during Hill's rookie campaign, Hill himself shined, averaging just under 20 points per game his rookie year. He would go on to make the 95 All-Star game, the NBA All-Rookie team, and was named Co-Rookie of the Year alongside the Mavs' Jason Kidd. While Hill was excellent in his tenure with the Pistons, making the All-Star team 5 out of his 6 seasons in Detroit, the Grant Hill era is largely remembered for the team's mediocrity. The Pistons reached the playoffs 4 out of the 6 seasons they had Grant Hill, losing in the first round each year. Hill would opt to leave Detroit during the 2000 free agency. This decision would usher in the 3rd era in Pistons basketball, the go-into-work era. The Pistons were able to work out a sign-and-trade deal when Hill departed that ultimately sent them 26-year-old center Ben Wallace. At the time, it certainly seemed like a net loss. However, Wallace would go on to thrive in Detroit, winning 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards over the next 6 seasons. After picking up Ben Wallace, the Pistons would go on to cement the core of their roster in the coming years, drafting Tayshaun Prince, signing free agent Chauncey Billups, and trading for emerging guard Rip Hamilton. With their new roster intact, the Pistons were officially ready to reclaim the NBA ranks and reclaim their spot as one of the best teams in the league. The Pistons would go on to make 6 consecutive Eastern Conference Finals from 2003 to 2008, including 2 consecutive NBA Finals appearances in 2004 and 2005. The Pistons became NBA champions once again in 2004 when they defeated the heavily favored Los Angeles Lakers in 5 games. They would return to the finals in 2005 looking to defend their title, but were ultimately defeated in 7 games by the San Antonio Spurs. While the Pistons would go on to make the Eastern Conference Finals from 2006 to 2008, they were unable to secure another trip to the finals. The go-into-work era in Detroit began to wind down as the team moved through the early 2000s. Ben Wallace elected to leave during 2006 free agency, and the Pistons front office made the decision to send veteran guard Chauncey Billups to Denver in exchange for an out-of-his-prime Allen Iverson. This leads us to 2010 and the beginning of the trying to rebuild era. While the Pistons had top 10 draft picks in 3 consecutive drafts from 2010 to 2012, they were unable to secure a player they could build a true contender around. 2012 draft pick Andre Drummond has been a nice corner piece for the franchise, but ultimately isn't the type of guy that is going to be the best player on a championship team in today's NBA. The Pistons have also made some questionable personnel decisions from 2010 to 2018, such as choosing to trade away young players Brandon Knight and Chris Middleton for the Milwaukee Bucks' Brandon Jennings in 2013. The Pistons have made the playoffs just one time in the last 9 seasons. Their lone appearance came in 2016 when they claimed the 8 seed and were swept by the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round. The 2015-2016 season is also the only season the Pistons have finished above 500 during the trying to rebuild era. Currently, the Pistons are in the first full year of what we are calling the Blake Griffin era. The Pistons took a huge risk in January of 18 when they traded away several young players and a couple of draft picks for all-star forward Blake Griffin. Griffin. While Griffin can be a top-level player in the league when healthy and focused, he is also an aging forward with a history of injury issues and a huge contract to boot. Griffin and the Pistons have performed well thus far in the 2018-2019 season, currently hovering around 500 and occupying a playoff spot in the East. The future in Detroit looks murky, however. The team doesn't appear to have what it takes to compete with the top teams in the East and has limited cap space moving forward. Nonetheless, Pistons fans remain optimistic the team will return to its championship ways in the not-too-distant future.